So, good evening, everyone. With the today's topic, that how to protect immunity, how to protect yourself and your immunity in the COVID-19 phase that we all are going through naturally and during this monsoon. So, let's understand what is immunity. Immunity, quwwat mudafiyat, that is, as it is called in the Unani system of medicine, it is the capability of multicellular organisms made up of more than one cell to resist harmful microorganisms. So this is basically, if we have to understand it in simple terms, this is the ability of body to neutralize and eliminate the pathogenic or the disease causing microorganisms and their toxic products, thus providing protection to the individual. Now, what is the dysfunction of immune system? This is the imbalance in the immune system which is responsible for various diseases like allergy, arthritis, asthma, cancer, and other infectious diseases. Age-related changes of immune system contribute to the increased susceptibility of elderly persons and even children to infectious diseases. Now, we have all heard about the immune boosters, the drugs, or the regular diet stuff that we all take, which enhance our immunity or which boost our immunity. Now, let's understand what is immunity boosting, what are immunity modulators, what are immunity stimulants. Immunity stimulant drugs are those which enhance the body's immunity and enable the body's resistance power more efficient in order to prevent the body from various kinds of infections, immunodeficiency diseases, etc. Now, let's continue. If you have any questions, just put it across. Let's continue and understand how immunity works on our body and what is the action. So before that, let's understand the history of what is immunity. So between the time of Hippocrates and in the 19th century, when the foundations of scientific methods were laid, diseases were attributed to an alteration or imbalance of one of the four humors. That is what is the basic principles of Unani system of medicine, wherein there is an alteration or the imbalance in one of the four humors, which are basically blood, phlegm, yellow bile, or black bile. Also popular during this time before learning the communicable diseases came from germs or microbes was the miasma theory, which held that diseases such as cholera or the Black Plague were caused by a miasma, a noxious form of bad air. If someone were exposed to the miasma in a swamp, in evening air, or breathing air in a sick room or hospital ward, they could get a disease. Now let's understand how the term immunity came up and from where it has initiated. So the first clinical description of immunity, which arose from a specific disease causing organism, is probably from Kitab fil fi al-Jadari wa al-Hasba. So the English translation of this is a treatise on smallpox and measles, translated in 1848. This was written by Unani physician Al-Razi in the 9th century. So in the treatise, Al-Razi describes the clinical presentation of smallpox and measles and goes on to indicate that exposure to these specific agents confers lasting immunity. Although he does not use this term, the first scientist who developed a full theory of immunity was Ilya Meshnikov after he revealed phagocytosis in 1882. With Louis Pasteur's germ theory of disease, the fledgling science of immunology began to explain how bacteria cause disease and how following infection the human body gained the ability to resist further infections. So this is basically a brief history of how the term immunity came up, how the earlier physicians were able to understand what the disease is, what the cause of the disease, and how to protect one's own self from the disease. Let's move on to the other part of the components of immunity. Yeah, I'm getting questions here. I'll definitely answer this. How can I boost my immune system? That is definitely gonna come up. Before that, I just wanna because there are a lot of patients, a lot of cases that I get wherein people come and talk to me and then they say, what are these immunity boosters? I mean, we are getting the immunity booster term on papads even, and on multiple other stuff. It's even on pickles, even on the juices that we have seen those terms, immunity booster. So let's understand, how does this immunity booster act? What is immunity, and how, what are immunity boosters? How does this immunity booster act? Let's understand that, and then we can move on to the move on to the next section of it, wherein we will understand what are the lifestyle management stuff that we can do to protect ourselves from these monsoon causing diseases. So there, in the immunity, there are two components. When we are talking about immunity, there are basically two components that we talk about. One is innate, and the other one is the adaptive component. So, what is innate component? Innate component comprises of the primitive bone marrow cells that are programmed to recognize foreign substances and to react. So this reaction is the inflammation. This is one part of immunity, wherein wherein we would have seen there is an injury, mild injury, there is a mild cut on the finger, and then we see it swells up. So that swelling or that reaction of the body to protect the body from any harm, that is an inflammation. So that is part of innate component of immunity. Now there is another component, that is adaptive component. This comprises of the lymphatic cells, or the police cells that we would have studied in biology from our school days. And these are programmed to recognize self substances and not to react. So this non-reaction is immunity. So basically the adaptive component is immunity. Let's get much more to the next level of this. So, what is this adaptive immunity? This is of two forms. One is natural, the other one is artificial. So, when we are talking about the natural immunity, this is passive. We all are born with this immunity. So, it's basically passed on from the mother to the child during the gestational age itself. And this is a passive, natural, adaptive immunity which we don't have to work on it much. The other one, under the natural, it is classified as the active one, active, natural, adaptive immunity. This is basically we gain the active, natural, adaptive immunity when we are infected. For example, we would have heard saying that once if you get chicken pox, that will not be repeated, or the infection will not be repeated again in the throughout lifetime. So that is kind of active immunity which we gain after getting exposed to infection. There is an artificial adaptive immunity. So again, this is classified into passive and active. So for the artificial one, the passive comes from the antibodies transfer. So that is how the plasma transfer is done from the recovered cases, and because of the antibodies development, it helps in recovering from the infection. And then there is another thing as vaccinations or immunization. That is another form of artificial adaptive immunity, which helps human body to gain immunity through the vaccinations or immunization, getting exposed to the infection in a milder level, and then gaining immunity against it. The once this is clear that what immunity is, how immunity acts on our body, let's move on to the immunobooster drugs. Yeah, we all know, and we all are seeing a lot of advertisements on this, saying that there are a lot of immunobooster drugs, immunobooster of vegetables, and I mean everything is stuffed with immunoboosters nowadays. Some advertisement that I have seen even somewhere, I don't remember exactly, but then it talks about pizza for immunobooster, papad for immunobooster. So it's just people are just creating a mock of immunobooster, I would say rather. As a layman or as a common person, no one understands what immunobooster is and how does it act. So basically, what are immunobooster drugs? Immunobooster drugs are contain flavonoids, vitamin C, carotenoids basically. So these are the three major components of it. They contain other chemical ingredients as well, but these are the major ones. So, as everyone knows, at least that vitamin C enhances immunity, but for the others, no one knows. And how vitamin C acts on immunity, no one knows. So, let's understand simple terms about this. This has been proven by Nikken Research Institute. So they conducted a lot of studies on the immunobooster drugs, how the natural drugs or the herbs act in boosting immunity or modulating immunity. The flavonoid-rich herbs may also possess mild anti-inflammatory action. Their beneficial effect named as anti-inflammatory and as an immune stimulant action. It can promote the activity of lymphocytes. What we have understood some time back that lymphocytes uh, help in immunity. So these drugs or these chemical agents which are present in immunoboosters help in promoting the activity of lymphocytes. They increase the phagocytosis. Phagocytosis is body's own reaction to kill harmful microorganisms, and then induce interferon production. Interferon is part of one of the chemicals for immunity. Very simple. So how does it act as? It promote the activity of lymphocyte, and it helps in killing the harmful microorganisms, and then induce interferon production. So these are the three major actions how immunoboosters act. Let's take an example of garlic basically. So garlic is one of the most remarkable plants that can affect strongly on immune system. Garlic as an immune system booster has been found to exert an immune potentiating effect by stimulating natural killer cell activity. For example, some studies powerfully suggest that garlic is a promising candidate as an immune modifier, which preserves the homeostasis of immune function. Homeostasis is it keeps the balance because it has a higher concentration of sulfur combinations which are responsible for its therapeutic effects. The chemical components of garlic have also been found for treatment of cancer, diabetes, atherosclerosis, and hyperlipidemia. And this is a research done in Nikken Research Institute, and they published an international paper from which I got. I did some research and I got this information. Any questions so far? Yeah, there are questions saying that how to take care of our lifestyle. We will come to it. We are very short. We are near to it. Okay, so now let's understand what are flavonoids. We have understood flavonoids are the ones which help, are the chemicals which help in immunoboosting. So these, the drugs which, or the diet or the food which has flavonoids help us in protecting immunity. So, what are flavonoids? They are basically classified into multiple terms. It's like flavonols, flavones, isoflavones, flavonones, flavonols, anthocyanidins, and these are found in onions, apples. So this is just the general food items that I'm specifying here. Onions, apples, berries, kale, leeks, broccoli, blueberries, tea, celery, cocoa, berry fruits, soya, soya or moringa. It's one of the miracle drug that's known to be. Now let's understand how flavonoids act. A very simple example that I would give here with respect to anti-allergic activity. It is well known that certain flavonoids, depending on structure, can inhibit the stimulated release of pro-inflammatory mast cell, basophil, and eosinophil. So these cells are basically part of the police cells that we were talking about earlier. So, so the action of flavonoids basically um, restricts the allergic reaction in the body and thereby increases the immunity. Now, let's talk about the most awaited section of this session today, lifestyle management. So, the first thing during monsoon, there is no predictability as to how microorganisms can spread. The temperature is low, and there are and as the rain falls and as the monsoon increases, there is high potentiality in the air itself to transfer organisms from one place to another. And COVID-19 being the airborne, being the potential of having a airborne spread causes a lot of havoc in people's mind, and of course it is very notorious even till date that we have seen we are not able to control it till date, and it has caused a lot of sacrifice of human life, and a lot of health issues are being studied, and they are being noticed on a regular basis. Still, we don't understand to which organ specifically that it does. It has almost spread to almost every organ in a human body, as the studies are going on, and physicians and scientists are studying about it more. Let's understand how we can, with the change in lifestyle, how can we can control it and keep ourselves safe. So the first important thing here is to maintain distance. Okay, okay, let's understand what is the distance that it should be maintained. So, being an airborne one, and with studies, it has come up that it can spread easily to 10 meters. So, minimum of 10 meters of distance is to be kept between people. We all know it's 6 meters that has been recommended, but I would suggest it's minimum 10 meters. If we maintain distance, that should be better. The next thing is about mask. Mask is again something very skeptical that has come up. So these COVID-19 viruses, the coronavirus size is too small. It is 65 to 125 nanometers in diameter, whereas the pore size of N95 mask, even or even a surgical mask, is greater than the COVID-19 size. So it's basically it can easily pass through the pores of the mask, and we have no idea. I mean, if it is like on the mask, it can easily penetrate through it. But then with studies, it has come up that the penetration rate is somewhere close to 0.2% to 1.8%. Still, there are chances that we can get infected even after wearing a mask. So, how to keep ourselves protected? Yes, wearing a mask is very important. First thing is to maintain distance, minimum 10 meters is required. The next thing is wearing a mask is required. Even after wearing mask, if we are contaminated with the virus, we need to keep ourselves hygienic. Now, what does hygiene comprise of? We all know it's just washing hands that we know. No, I don't stop till washing hands. There is a gargle, which is the next step, which is very, very important. A deep throat gargle with warm water. Um, of course, you can add salt to it, at least with warm water. A deep throat gargle is needed. Keep your ears even closed when you are out, going out in the outer environment, out of the house. The reason is the ear, there is a duct in the ear which connects directly to the throat, the eustachian tube. So even if there is an infection which is passing via ear, that will pass through your throat even. And keep a different external clothing whenever you are leaving a house. Remove it before entering. Ventilation is very important in the house. If there is a virus which has come inside and you are shutting all the doors and windows, then there are higher number of chances that it will cause contamination and it can spread within the house. Maybe there are people with greater immunity who are not so susceptible to it, but then people like elderly population or kids can get easily susceptible to the virus. So ventilation is very important. Sanitize your home on a daily basis. Basically, keep a specific time, maybe in the evening or somewhere. There are natural sanitizers which you can use. For example, to sanitize home, just burn neem leaves for some time. It sanitizes the house. A very good one indeed. I mean, it's been scientifically proven that neem does a very good sanitization. These are basic things that we need to keep in our mind. It's not important every time to sanitize with an alcohol based solution. Even washing hands properly with a soap is sufficient enough. Gargling every time, whenever you have to wash your hand, you have to gargle it, spit whatever is in your throat out. And regarding spitting, I mean, it's like I don't know what the people mentality is on, whether it's like notorious or something, but I don't like this. Some people have the habit of spitting it on the roads. I mean, uh, they are like committing a major crime actually nowadays if they do so, because the chances that they of spreading infection is high if that is done. So always spit in a closed sink wherein that can be flushed out immediately. And the next important thing here is exercise. Exercise boosts immunity. What exercises do we follow here? So there are exercises, basic exercises like cardios which can be followed. Strengthening exercises, muscle strengthening exercises are important. What these include? What do I mean when I say cardios and when I say strengthening muscle strengthening exercises? So cardios include running, basic swimming if that is possible, but then due to high contamination, that is not allowed nowadays. But basic running, walking, wherein you can perspire completely and a lot of toxins from the skin gets removed from your skin. That is very important. On a daily basis, at least for half an hour, a brisk walk minimum that you can do instead of swimming and other exercises. Basic yoga can be done. So there are basic exercises for yoga for muscle strengthening. And pranayamas, the breathing exercises are very important nowadays. So there is a specific way that pranayamas are done, and that is to be followed under guidance initially, and then later on you can go ahead on your own. This helps in strengthening the lungs and the thoracic muscles, the chest muscles, and the abdominal muscles. So the proper form of pranayama or the breathing exercise includes both thoracic and abdominal muscles for inhalation and exhalation. Diet is very important. So what do we eat makes a lot of difference on our immunity. uh, what we talked about earlier, the diet and the food items which include vitamin C, flavonoids, carotenoids can be taken in the diet on a daily basis. Avoid junk food, avoid food from fried from outside, because we don't know who is preparing it and how contaminated it gets. But if you're sure about it, you can go ahead and take it. And wash every fruit or vegetable that you are eating it raw. Wash it properly, basically to clean from the contaminations. It's suggested to add vinegar to warm water, lukewarm water, just more than your room temperature, and then keep the vegetables and fruits in it for at least half an hour, and then once it gets cleansed you can have it. Immunoboosters on a daily basis, yes, there is an intake of minimum requirement of 500 milligrams of vitamin C that is required. There are natural forms of immunoboosters that we get. uh, it's it's in a lot of vegetables and a lot of fruits. So basically if you're taking a handful of nuts, like almonds, cashews, pistachios, and along with that a lot of fruits, fresh fruit juices, that should be sufficient enough. Apart from that, if you specifically want to take some specific prepared concoctions or decoctions from ayush therapies, that can be done, but I suggest that should be done under clinicians guidance. As these drugs, as we have understood the mechanism of it, how these immunoboosters act, so there is a specific dosage needed for specific bodies, human bodies, based on their age, physique, gender, and multiple other reasons. So it under proper guidance, if it is done, that makes a lot of difference. If it is not under guidance, then there are chances of the drugs not acting properly on the human body. Let's talk about few of the drugs in general. So it's what you can get easily, what you can procure easily from the market and have it. It's amla, or that is Embolica officinalis. So it is available in a lot of forms. You can take amla in its raw form. You can prepare a pickle of it, and um, but there is a daily dosage needed for that based on the specific criteria that I talked about: the age, gender, and the physique. So be cautious about that. If you have to take it, you can take a consultation from any of the Ayush practitioners, uh, Ayurveda, Unani practitioners, and then go ahead and take the specific concoctions or decoctions. Aloe vera is one of the immunoboosters. Pomegranate is there. There is papaya. There are multiple others. It's like grapes are there, and saffron, tulsi, asgandh is ashwagandha, which has there was a research done on ashwagandha from IIT candidates, and they have come up saying that yeah, asgandh, the Latin name is Withenia somnifera, saying that yes, it is one of the potential immunobooster uh, for viral infections. There are multiple others, and then there are drugs, specific combination drugs, which are compound drugs, but there are multiple medicines mixed into it, like Kanire Marvarid. Uh, it's one of the, I mean, it's like authenticated by government even as an immunobooster against viral infections. Khamire Gauzaban is also authenticated by the government on this. So these are basic lifestyle changes that one has to maintain to keep up the immunity basically. And we have understood how immunity changes, how these drugs act on body, and how these lifestyle changes act on body. Any questions? I hope I answered your questions here. What I see here is how can I boost my immune system? Hope I answered that, saying that you have to take a lot of fruits and vegetables which are rich in vitamin C, carotenoids, and flavonoids. And of course, if you are doing your self prescription, I would suggest please avoid it and take a proper consultation from any Ayurveda or Unani practitioner. How to take care of our lifestyle is another question. That's what we discussed about the lifestyle management to protect ourselves from COVID 19. Any other questions? I'll wait for some time if there are any questions that are coming up. So, the basic thing in protecting ourselves from COVID 19 is protection. That's it. We have to keep ourselves safe. Instead of going for medications and exposing ourselves to the infection, it's better to prevent ourselves from getting infected. That's the best suggestion that I could give. And for that, whatever minimum lifestyle changes that we could follow is what I have suggested, and that actually takes the major part of our day to day activities. Waiting for your questions for some time. So, as I don't see a lot of questions coming up, we will end this live session here itself. And I wish you all a safe and a happy weekend, a safe journey towards life. Be careful, be cautious, and keep safe. Thank you all.